Hello and welcome back to Mama What's Next. This episode today is about visibility for women founders building creative or service-based careers, especially those in career reinvention who want to create meaningful work, real impact, trust, and actually reach the right people. Today, I want to talk about visibility, about the psychological problems that come along with visibility. Because I've spent over 20 years as a brand and marketing expert. Some of you might not know that. And I worked along some really amazing global brands like Breitling, Davidoff, Baileys, Rimmel London. I was very lucky, and many of those jobs were so much fun. I did some great, really deep branding and marketing work globally and also locally. So I understand marketing, branding, and I understand visibility. I understand positioning, messaging, and how to reach the right people. And this is not to sing a song and dance about my great experience, but I need to tell you that yet, even though I know so much about marketing and I'm great, like I'm amazing at promoting other people's work and services and products, when it came to my very own work, what I was building alongside my actual jobs. For example, I launched a lifestyle guide 10 years ago. I created an Italian shoe line. So when it came to promoting and marketing my own products and services, I froze. And I froze because suddenly it was all about me. I was meant to be the face behind the thing, the service, the product that I was meant to sell. And that's changed everything. So this is what I now see again and again as a visibility and branding coach for women building creative and service-based businesses, especially coaches, therapists, women in career reinvention, starting their next meaningful chapter to create more impact, sometimes to create more safety in their career, building portfolio careers, building something meaningful. They don't struggle as much with finding the thing they want to do, because often it's driven by a real deep calling, a real deep desire to service people and to support other people. But it's the struggle to become visible, to promote the thing, and to talk about it in a way that clarifies why what they do is different to other people. And oftentimes, especially with therapists and spiritual coaches, it's the explaining of the how. Like, what am I actually doing? And they use terminology that people don't necessarily understand, that don't come from this space. So visibility is a huge problem, because sometimes we get stuck in our own little world where we don't realize what we say. People don't understand, but most of the time it's really the promoting of us, because all of a sudden I have to go out there and say, look at me, and look at what I'm doing. Buy what I'm selling, look at what I'm promoting, and people feel uncomfortable. These are psychological blocks, and they show up as overthinking. You overthink what to say. It's a feeling like you need to be clearer before you show up. You're holding back because it feels too personal. And you want it to get right before you start being visible, before you start to promote yourself and to market yourself. And you constantly compare yourself to others and you question your own voice. But really underneath all of that is something much, much deeper. It's the fear of being seen by other people, and it's the fear of being judged. It's the fear of not being enough. And we're scared to put ourselves out there because of what other people could think. So today I want to share with you a book that I read. And I love Steven Pressfield's books. And this is like one of his main works. And it's called The War of Art. And this is exactly what Steven Pressfield talks about in The War of Art. He calls it resistance. It's the invisible force that shows up in the moment you move towards meaningful work. And of course, Steven Pressfield, being a writer, he writes and references creatives and often people writing. But really, this book applies to every one of us that is being called to do meaningful work, is being called to something more, to express themselves more, and is scared to do so. Because what's holding you back is resistance. And really what he says is that the more resistance there is, the more you need to go towards that. Because this is where the growth is. And God calls you towards growth and expansion. And if this wasn't the right thing, you wouldn't feel resistance. So here's the key. The more important the work is, the stronger the resistance. That's a very important line. So if visibility feels heavy and uncomfortable, it's a sign that it really matters. It matters to you, and it's something that you need to look at. It's something that you need to take seriously. There's a reason why you're being called. And I don't think that we're being called to do things in this life if they're not meant for us. Our soul is calling us to do things that she wants to experience, right? So there's a reason why you feel what you feel, and why there's a deep desire to step into that and to promote this kind of work and to work in the kind of space that you're stepping into. So there's a specific idea in the book that I found that really explains this very well. And it also starts to shift how you can look at that problem. Because Steven Pressfield talks about the need to distance yourself from your instrument. The instrument, he says, is you, your ego, your identity, your need for approval. When you're too identified with the instrument, visibility starts to feel very personal. And every post feels like a judgment of you. Every piece of content feels like too much exposure. But when you start to create distance, you move from being the work to doing the work. And I actually want to read you a small part of the book here to tell you in his own words how he talks about this. He says, a professional distances herself from her instrument, and that's the important part. He's asking us basically in the whole book to move from the hobbyist, from the dreamer, into the professional role, into the role that is taking what we're being called to seriously. So he says, a professional distances herself from her instrument, meaning her person, her body, her voice, her talent, the physical, mental, emotional, and psychological being she uses in her work. She does not identify with this instrument. It is simply what God gave her, what she has to work with. She assesses it coolly, impersonally, objectively. The professional identifies with her consciousness and her will, not with the matter that her consciousness and will manipulate to serve her art. Does Madonna walk around the house in cone bras and come fuck me bustiers? She's too busy planning D-Day. Madonna does not identify with Madonna. Madonna employs Madonna. So he also says when people say an artist has a thick skin, what they mean is not that the person is dense or numb, but that he has seated his professional consciousness in a place other than his personal ego. Yes, because fear of rejection isn't just psychological, it's biological, it's in our cells. Resistance knows this. Resistance, he calls the enemy in the book, and uses it against us. It uses fear of rejection to paralyze us and prevent us, if not from doing our work, then from exposing it to the public evaluation.
It seems your heart just needs a fresh start.
Great brands and thought leaders don't build authority by trying to win over algorithms. They build it through meaningful conversations and stories that get translated into multiple formats and touch points. So just like Red Bull isn't just a drink, it's a global media empire that started with inspiring conversations across high-energy touchpoints. Online brands turn long-form interview content into blog content, socials, and email series to build authority and trust across platforms. And it all starts by simply having a conversation. That's exactly what I do with my content studio Sunny Chapter. We start with a conversation, an interview, a real exchange of thoughts and ideas right here with me. Not a script, not you performing on camera. It's just you talking about your story, what you know, what you teach. And then we turn that conversation into content that builds credibility and trust for you online, quietly, consistently, and with integrity. So if showing up online has ever felt icky, forced, or not really like you, then this is the method you've been waiting for. If that sounds like you, please do reach out to me at mel@sunnychapter.com. By the way, all the playbooks and frameworks we share here for you on Mama What's Next, we send them to you through our newsletter each week. So if you'd like to learn more, please do sign up. The link is in the show notes. So he gives really fantastic examples in the book. And it's only about 150 pages. And sometimes they're just half pages. And I really encourage anyone who's in this place at the moment, who is struggling to put himself into that space of publicity and visibility, to get that book, because it's a great explanation of why we struggle so much and how he recommends to take that next step into our professional identity and distance ourselves. And he explains really well how he recommends to step into this new identity and take a step towards more visibility and becoming that new professional identity that we're being called into. So for women founders building creative or service-based careers, especially in career reinvention and building your next chapter, this is everything, because visibility stops being, do they like me? Am I good enough? Is this good enough? Is this perfect enough? Is this clear enough? And it becomes more, what is the work actually asking me to say? Who needs to hear this? How can I serve the right people? So you reframe your role. As a visibility and marketing coach for women building these kinds of businesses, this is one of the shifts I help you move through. Basically, helping you see yourself differently, helping you trust yourself, and helping you say yes to your next chapter with conviction. For women in career reinvention, building meaningful work and wanting to create impact, visibility is a lot about resonance. It's about telling your story of your next chapter in a way that makes the right people say yes. So instead of asking, what should I post? Ask yourself, what do my people need to hear today? Instead of, how do I sound more perfect or different or smarter or like the other person I saw on Instagram, ask yourself, what is true from my experience and what can I share from my personal experience that would resonate with people? This creates distance from the instrument and connection to your personal work. So when I look at my work where I froze despite decades in branding and marketing, it definitely wasn't the knowledge and the experience and knowing what I needed to do. I was too close to this particular problem. I was too close to the instrument, to the new professional identity that I was creating. Too identified with how it would reflect on me and how it would be perceived by other people. So visibility for women founders building creative or service-based careers, especially in moments of career reinvention, is really about becoming available to your people. It's becoming available to your work that you're being called into. It's becoming available to your voice and to the people who are already looking for exactly what you do. You just need to start to share your message, tell your story, and tell people how you do it, why you do it, in exactly the way only you can do that. And when you shift from self to service and from instrument to work, to professional work, visibility starts to become lighter, clearer, and far more powerful. And I hope this gave you a great example today to rethink your own visibility struggles if you face them currently. And as always, I'm really grateful that you're here and listening. I appreciate your time, and I'm grateful always if you leave me a review, if you share this episode with someone that would get value from this, or who should be reading Stephen Pressfield's War of Art. And thank you so much for spending time. I will see you back here next week. Goodbye.